welcome to Cutler Night. It's a very informal night. I did a show about Ivor Cutler 2 years ago, and last year we did the first Ivor Cutler Night, which took place at Camden People's Theatre, and Coffee7 provided gruts and everything else to make that evening go fantastically well. And we just wanted to make sure that we continued the tradition, which is to try and unseat Robbie Burns from his place as the January Scottish Bard. Ivor Cutler, in maybe 200 years' time, will be the first person that you think of in January in terms of Scottish and indeed London poets. How many of you know Ivor Cutler's music and work?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. And how many have no idea who he is and why we'd be celebrating him? Okay. So, Ivor Cutler. Ivor Cutler was born in 1927, I believe, the 15th of January. So we're celebrating it tonight, but really tomorrow is Cutler Night. So please go home and make your gruts for then. He was born in Scotland, in a Jewish family.
23 Sunday.
1923, thank you.
27 is my granddad's birthday.
So he was born in Glasgow, in Govan, and then the family moved later on to the slightly more posher Pollokshaws, and he grew up there. He was planning to be a doctor, but his dad told him he'd have to kill frogs, so he decided he was not going to become a doctor. World War II came along. He was a pacifist, but then there was some slightly anti-Semitic notions that it wasn't possible to be Jewish and a pacifist. There was a newspaper article in the Daily Record suggesting this, so he decided he would sign up. So he became a navigator very briefly, but then was dismissed for dreaminess. So he then went and worked in a munitions factory, making Spitfire engines in a Rolls Royce factory until the end of the war, and then he became a teacher, trained to be a teacher. He moved down to the slightly austere Scottish education system was too much for him. So he, instead of giving the belt, he gave 52 students the belt by cutting it up and handing it out individually to them before he then left Jordan Hill Academy in Paisley. So then he moved down to what's the name of the
Summerhill.
Summerhill, that's right. To the very forward. This is, I should say, this is the absolute star of the evening. Phyllis King, who was Ivor Cutler's partner and colleague and collaborator for 40 years or more, and you may well have heard her voice on his records or read her poems as well. And Phyllis has very kindly said, well, lent us his harmonium, which is this one here with Sewer written on the back, and we'll be reading us an Ivor Cutler poem this evening. So he went to Summerhill, which is if you know or don't know, is a very sort of forward-thinking establishment. Progressive is the word, thank you. And he didn't really get on very well there, I think, in the end. So he then moved to London to become a teacher. Had a family, and then I think he wanted to teach partly so he could be near his lads in that area at that time as well. And then became quite famous as a slightly off-the-wall teacher in various schools around Notting Hill. It was around that time that he went off to try and sell records on his music in Tin Pan Alley. This didn't go very well, and in the end it was suggested that he should just play his music himself, which he started to do, and that's where he gradually became famous. John Peel played him throughout in the 60s, in the 70s. Andy Kershaw came along, he played him as well. So you had whole generations of people listening to Ivor Cutler alongside the Beatles, alongside punk, alongside all these sorts of different types of music that came through. But obviously these days there's not those same key cultural guardians that sort of provide you with a whole sideshow of against popular culture, which is why we did the show and which is why we're here tonight. And I really would just urge, if any of you have a favourite Ivor Cutler poem or story that you'd like to read out, please feel free. That was an awkward pause. I thought we should get the first one out the way soon. Ivor Cutler loved awkward pauses. He loved silence. He hated music. He was a believer of not saying anything unless you can improve on silence. So what I'd like this evening to be is, as I said to someone earlier, is a kind of, if you could imagine that God was Ivor Cutler, we would all be Quakers.
I was going to say, I quite like to be.
Does anyone have a favourite Ivor Cutler poem they'd like to read out? I'll set us off then.
Life in a Scotch Sitting Room, Volume 2, Episode 9. The girls brought the music to Mother and held it under her face as she reached for a sock. She laid the old warm mushroom into the basket and rose, pushing out her arms before her like semaphore, till her fingers cracked and her stays creaked. Hoots, called Grandpa in a cracked tone. Hoots, rose the antiphone. Not a vocal cord was still. The stool was slender and square, but Mother sat with confidence before the piano and smiled on the rounded yellow keys. They grinned back. The piano candles lit, we cleared our throats and launched into Loch Lomond.
Ivor Cutler refused to have children at his concerts. That is my daughter, by the way. I'm not just being funny.
There had been several notes were missing. They had always been missing, except for two that I'd levered out with a poker when 3. We should barely have recognised the accompaniment had all the notes been there. The anticipated thrill of a missing G or an E flat was like a good joke, told again and again, always fresh. I believe that my present feeling for silences and emptinesses dates from these sing-songs, the awaited non-note on the beat. Loch Lomond was in E flat, so half the tune was missing, and often we regaled each other. in the school playground with what must have sounded to other children under a grey vast sky as syncopated hiccups. For I love a lassie, all the girls sat on the piano lid and kept time by drumming with their heels and holding their skirts tight round their moth-like thighs to avoid singeing from the candles. Often, the odour of singed leg hair was a brown invisible cloud catching the back of an uplifted red throat. In the fall, I love a lassie is never far from my thoughts. But the favourite was the bonny Earl of Murray. The women cried their hearts out, the men held their chanters firmly at their lips, and I surreptitiously opened the window wide to let the neighbours wit what braw cacophony we Cutlers could raise. The stone chat held its wings over its ears with delight, and the rain beat on the washing in 4/4 time. Then we got castor oil because it was Thursday and retired, happy but queasy.
As I am an eccentric man out around London, Ivor Cutler adored sticky labels. I guess in the 80s did that to quite a lot of people. I remember from school. So he used to give out these sticky labels to people, which I thought we could maybe hand out these ones amongst us here. One of them reads out, "Imperfection is an end, perfection is only an aim." I hold that one very close to my heart. And then the other one is, what is it, to remove this label, take it off, I think? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. So please take one and pass it on. And I don't know, Jonathan, you were a friend of Ivor's. You had an interesting story about the sticky labels.
So I knew Ivor from when I was a small child, and Ivor was a completely ordinary sort of person because, you know, you're a child and so you don't know that he's not a normal kind of person. And so he used to come round to our house and distribute labels, and with a very serious look on his face, "These are for you." And we would have the labels where he would show us his box of glass eyes and give us more sticky labels. The one that came to mind when you were speaking of them earlier was the square roots of pi. I don't know if that's one of the ones here, but if you can imagine the image that goes with the square roots of pi. So after Ivor died, as a tribute to him, I wrote a faintly naughty poem, and I had it made into a self-inking rubber stamp as a tribute to Ivor, and I went and stamped Soho. And if I'd known a little bit ahead of time, I would have brought it this evening, but Sandy has made me promise that I'll bring my rubber stamp next year and stamp anybody who wants a rude Ivorish tribute on their hand.
Can you tell us what was rude?
Oh, I couldn't possibly.
Oh, right. Only just stamped.
I've got another one here. I don't have many. I don't have this one to hand out. There's one here that I quite like. Ivor Cutler's needs: 1, a firm bed; 2, warmth; 3, fresh air; 4, no central heating; 5, no noise from traffic, music, jukebox, TV, radio, kitchen, ventilation, etc. There was a story, he was going round with Van Morrison. He was a support act to Van Morrison. Van Morrison doesn't like many people, but he seemed to quite take to Ivor Cutler. And he went missing one night. They set him up in this beautiful hotel, fantastic hotel. Van Morrison's staying there, everyone else is all staying there. Ivor Cutler goes AWOL. No one can find him anywhere. They have no idea what's happened to him. So Van Morrison sends everyone out to look for him. Eventually someone comes back and Ivor Cutler's been found in the railway waiting room with a blanket over him. And because he hated the central heating and the air conditioning of the hotel so much, that he decided to set himself up at the railway station instead. So this was how much he loathed, I guess, all the intricacies of modern life. Phyllis, would you like to read out the poem that you...
Yes, I will. Oh, the one about... Well, there's one that he wrote and one that I wrote about him. Which one?
Could you read the one
where he's going off to Scotland?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I feel like Ivor was always shuffling about. Yes, well, he was never warm enough. He was always worried about keeping warm, and at times when he was had to go, I think it was to Birmingham or somewhere like that for one of his concerts, and we were put up at someone's house in the basement, and he couldn't bear basements because he knew it would be cold and damp, and it was, sure enough. And so when we came back from doing it, they had the fire going in the basement, and the bed was there and everything. And he said, no, we couldn't get into the bed because it would be damp, and he couldn't take off his coat because it was too cold. So the rest of the night he sat there on the bed with his coat on, and I did much the same, but I was in the bed again. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Should I stand up and you can hear me
please.
better? So this is called When Cutty to the North. When Cutty to the north did go, this is just little rhyming rubbish, right, that I used to write when he'd go away. When Cutty to the north did go, to far off Scotland, yea, oh, plenty of woolies he took with him, for warmth by night and day. There were 20 pulleys and socks galore, thick pants and many a vest. He was wearing his Everest jacket and hood, for cold it was the best. I'll not fear the weather now, he said, as he climbed onto the plane. I've got my stout umbrella too, should it decide to rain. Oh, I wished him well, and I kissed him hard and shook him by the hand. Oh good, oh brave, oh Cutty, I wish you warmth in that far-off land.
Do you have the other one too?
Yeah.
Read the other one too.
This one, yeah. This one's never. It's not published. It's not. This is
an Ivor poem. This
an
one
Ivor
he
original.
wrote. Yeah. And that was what he wrote it on. Pay on to Fish Face. Oh, you're as lovely as the sun, as lovely as the moon, as lovely as the sparkling stars, and a tongue like a silver teaspoon. I like the way you walk about, your toes turn north and south, your tongue like a silver teaspoon depending from your mouth. Like flounders are your pretty hands, like flounders fresh out the sea. But when the equinox doth come, they more like rock cod be. I watch you stirring cups of tea with your sweet old silver tongue, and some harsh tears stream down my ears, 'cause it minds me when I was young. Oh silver tongue, oh north-south toes, oh hands like big wet fish. Oh sun, oh moon, oh sparkling stars. Oh Phyllis, my Irish dish.
We've got some, okay, so we've got the grass. I was just thinking, can I just quickly play Beautiful Cosmos in the back of that? It just seems like an appropriate moment to play it on the back of that. And then I'll read the grass. I just need to switch it on over here.
Just. Tell your story. Come on, look at this.
This one's called Fly Sandwich. A fly crouching in a sandwich can not comprehend why it has become more than ordinarily vulnerable. Ready?
I think so. This is unrehearsed, so wish us luck. Okay, so where are we starting?
Women of the world, take over. 'Cause if you don't, the world will come to an end. And you haven't got long. Women of the world, take over. 'Cause if you don't, the world will come to an end. And you haven't got long.
Men have had their shot, and look at where we've got.
Women of the world, take over. 'Cause if we don't, the world will come to an end. We haven't got long. Women of the world, take over. 'Cause if we don't, the world will come to an end. We haven't got long. Women of the world, take over. Women of the world, if we don't, the world will come to an end. We haven't got long. And we haven't got long. And we haven't got long.
Thank you guys, it was fantastic.
But thank you anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, get a drink.
Yeah, get a drink and come back.
Is that an order?
Yes.
An invitation.
I've got a slightly technical, but I've got a friend that's in America who said that he would read Looking for Truth with a pen if I played the harmonium. That might involve some technical shenanigans. Now, so I might leave that till later. Would anybody like? Kev, would you?
Yeah, I'll
do you
read a
want to
bit
do
of Glasgow Dreamer, number 2.
That'd be brilliant.
I want to read this because it's got my hometown.
Yeah. Kev's a proper Glaswegian.
It's Glasgow Dreamer episode 2. Apparently there's a little musical opening here. This would be in song. It says, Glasgow, Glasgow, where are you? 93 from Oban.
Do you want the tune?
I'll skip that bit. Come on, Ivor, called grandfather, and we set off for Queen's Park Pond. He with his walking stick, me with my fishing net and jam jar. We scuttered across Pollockshaw's road like insects, avoiding tram cars with mixed success. Bishopbriggs via Springburn, Rooken Glen via Giffnock. These were faraway places like India and China, though the passengers carried no luggage and looked just like pedestrians sitting down. Once inside the safety of the park, we made our way to the pond, grandfather to a bench and me to the Bagaminis, a close relation of the English minnow. They were not in a hurry to be caught, like the peas and barley in Scotch broth, so my scoops became wilder and eventually the cane slipped from my hand. In a panic, my heart on my tongue, I ran to the bench. "Can I borrow your walking stick, grandfather? I've lost my fishing rod." Away in another place, another time, he nodded. "Be careful, don't lose it." I dashed back with it and reached out. The rod was slippery and cheerily avoided the stick. I held the point and tried to hook it with the handle, but it just went further and out and smiled. In despair, I threw the walking stick at it. It just lay there in the water, 2 bits of stupid wood obeying the laws of nature. I stood and watched them, waiting for a breeze to spring up and drift them to the shore. In vain. I turned to face grandfather's wrath. Then we sat and waited. "Glasgow, Glasgow, where are you?" 151 from Malik.
Poem as well. We've got
Yeah.
a Cutler-inspired poem.
There is a Cutler-inspired quote, but I think I just want to say something about my Ivor Cutler experience. It's because I think everybody's got their own specific Ivor Cutler experience. And for me, it was an odd journey really. I think I saw something on BBC Three, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to sing a song right myself. And I was watching this guy, and I was like, there's so many similarities and kind of about approaches to life and just honest. So I fell in love with him after just seeing this documentary. It was just amazing. And then I saw all this, I was looking on the internet, Ivor Cutler stuff, and a little advert pops up for the show in Glasgow. And I was like, oh, fantastic, because I live in Carlisle when I'm not in Forest Gate, so I thought we'll go up to Glasgow, we'll go see the show, it'll be absolutely fantastic. Got some work down London, so I couldn't go and see the show. And then a couple of years later, and went round to see one of my neighbours, Ron, who my partner Richard's known for a long time. Gets talking to this bloke who's just sitting there. Ron's going to go off on holiday, and this guy's going to go and I'll look after Ron's house when he's away. And I went, I know you're from somewhere, I know you're from somewhere. And so what do you do? And I went, fucking hell, it's Ivor Cutler! And it was Sandy, and he just lived around the corner from the house, from where we live. And then went to see the show and all the rest of it. And the magic still happens, and there's still these little connections with people. And there's something about that man's work which kind of like brings oddballs together. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I kind of took inspiration from the way he wrote and did something along similar lines. This is called Fangle Double Dozer. It's a fangle double dozer, said Lily to Rosa. The Stephens, they did not agree. I think it's a farwump or a didgeridoo thump, but it comes right up to my knee. The one in the middle, said the boy with the fiddle, away in a world of his own. He played with such glee until 3:15. It's a shame you can't bow a trombone. My cousin Paul's not my cousin at all. He's a friend that I met at a wake. We giggled at death, and poor Uncle Jeff, who like a stripper popped out with a cake. And old Bobby's like Dobby. He surfs for a hobby, spends hours just looking for porn. He's got the best package, which included the snackage. It's a bit like a snack made of corn. If you eat the whole thing, you might end up in Tring, but he ended his days up in France. Oh no, he's not dead. He's with Sister Fred, a nun who wears men's underpants. She got up to pray at 7 today. She worships a god made of cheese. She used to be Catholic. Turns out she's allergic. The smell of an incense makes her sneeze. In the name of the Gouda, the stinking bishop has power. The Edam, the Brie, the big cheddar. She went to confession to atone of her sinning. She loved a pirate called Smee. But Father McSharry was dreaming of Barry, whom poor Sister Fred spilled the beans. Just pick up the can, it's a Heinz 56. You're missing a flavour, it seems. I'm in love with a man with a bright orange tan and a moustache he paints on with ink. He's not much of a brain, he might be insane. He calls himself Ethel, I think. He smells like a bakery. I love buns and pastries. We eloped to live in a pickle. I'd prefer a patisserie or a mini rotisserie. I'm really quite a bit fickle.
That reminds us there's a man called David Bramwell who did a radio documentary about Ivor Cutler, and he Ivor Cutler he could be quite harsh, as lovely as he was, or apparently lovely as he was when he was performing. Well, quite harsh when he was performing as well, actually. But nevertheless, David Bramwell approached him and said, sent him a letter saying, "Dear Ivor Cutler," which is his first flaw. He always had to be referred to as Mr. Cutler. If you called him Ivor Cutler, he would reprimand you immediately and say, "Have we met?" "No, Mr. Cutler to you then." And then from then on, you would, until you'd got to a certain degree of closeness, he might allow you to call him Ivor. But David Bramwell wrote to him and sent him a poem saying, I think I want you to read this poem and see what it's like. And he wrote back and said, "I think you should become a music teacher." But that's what he ended up becoming as well. That's literally what it's like. David Bramwell now is a music teacher, and it was brutal. I'm just thinking of Ivor Cutler. He wasn't always the most welcoming of people to want to be poets or anything like that. Would Kev, do you want to read the?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Friendly. I was drawing pictures on the moist sweetie shop window with my nose when a sparrow tugged at my trousers. "Come on," he called. He held out a wing, and I held it gently between my first 4 fingers. Then we ran down the street till we came to the country. It must have looked incongruous, an old man in cork shoes, I have fibrositis, running alongside a sparrow, but recently I came across a book of photographs of old men in cork shoes running alongside of sparrows. It was a Victoria book, so of course they must have been young men because of all the time that's passed. The country was empty, just grass about 100,000 miles, except a hedge of hawthorn down the middle with a ditch. We ran along the ditch Indian style, the sparrow in front. "Stop," I cried. "What's the matter?" he replied. "What's your name?" I asked. "Fremsley," said the sparrow. "Fremsley, that's a nice name for a sparrow," said I, and we ran on till we came to a suitable bush. "Here you are," said Fremsley, "a suitable bush," and we crawled under it and waited. Suddenly I saw a commotion. "I say, Fremsley, there's a commotion coming this way," I whispered. You should have seen him. He turned stone white and shook as though he had the ague. Hide me, he whimpered. I hid him under my t-shirt next to my heart. He dug his claws in and cocked his head feebly. "Did you have a bath today?" "Shut up, here they are," I whispered. A great aristocrat burst into the bush with 2 slavering dogs. His gleaming black taxi driver's leggings, his sagging khaki jodhpurs, his scarlet commissionaire's coat with golden epaulets like bath brushes proclaimed him a man who could extirpate a sparrow without mercy, or understate the interest earned on his post office savings bank account to the Commissioners of Inland Revenue without annoying at the vitals of his conscience. He pulled me out of the bush, and placing his pendulous mouth open by my ear, shouted, "Where's Fremsley?" I shook my head. Who could compete with this well-nourished man who was larger than nature intended? "What's that under your shirt?" indicating the fluttering bird. "Heart, Mistral stenosis," I muttered. He knew I lied. I knew he knew I lied. But I knew he would never reach into my shirt. He was a man. To save my face, he ran off with his slavering dogs bellowing, "Fremsley! Fremsley!" His dogs bellowing, "Fremsley! Fremsley! Fremsley!" And they disappeared like dots onto the horizon. "You saved my life," sighed Fremsley. "For better things," I replied, and took him home and ate him for supper with me.
I'm gonna make him try and phone America and see if this works. If we can get I don't know how loud speakerphone is.
We should have brought
They've
your
got a
speaker.
Bluetooth.
Yeah, I know.
Do you need to hold it up?
Hello, Tassos. Right, yeah, I'm just going to try and see if we can hear you with a harmonium. Okay, we're going to do a quick sound check.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Have you had your nuts?
Excellent.
I think we'll be
Right,
lucky, to be
I'm going to
honest.
try with the harmonium and see how we go.
Try talking now. Very faintly we can hear. You're a bit faint, so you might need to shout.
You can try and put them on the speaker.
Where's the speaker?
Over there.
How do we put... Hang on, we might have to try and put you on the actual speaker. Hang on.
Oh no, he won't be able to hear us, that's true. Let's go with this one. Alright,
Alright,
Tassos.
okay, we're going to go with it. Just
You are now Ivor Cutler.
You can go.
When I got to America, I bought a sandwich at a chain store. I walked into the jungle. After I went a long way, I came to a great clearing. But instead of agricultural ground, there was a great hole. At the bottom bent an old man. He jagged and strengthened the ruddy earth with a pin. Then he took his brush and crumb tray and used them. "Are you looking for something?" I shouted. "Truth," he answered. His voice rose hollowly from the hole. "Come and eat with me," I called in a friendly tone. He rose slowly out of the hole and we sat dangling our legs. I offered him his fat sandwich, but he dragged an onion out of his breast pocket and munched on it. Sucking the rich juice back into his mouth and escaped. Lunch over, he returned to the bottom and recommenced jagging and scraping and brushing. I lay watching him. Generous nourishment of the spout ran around my tubes. After about a quarter of an hour, he called up. "I found it!" And rose once again to the surface transformed. He looked at piece of the world and with himself complete, self-contained. I started to cry great tears of envy. He found the hole. I handed him my watch, my money, my return ticket to London, and my identity. He handed me the pen and the brush and crumb tray, then left the clearing. I dried my tears on the brush and sank it down the hole, swearing softly to myself to look for truth with a pen.
Mr. Genius.
Genius. You get
I'm
back.
basically a genius.
Good night.
Thank you! Bye!
Inspired. It's an inspired moment.
Does anyone have any other poems that they maybe came across tonight, or any other Ivor Cutler favourites that they have? Egg meat's always quite a favourite. We've got that one.
I've got a very short one, Sandy.
Oh, please do, yes.
I'm just going to read a very, very short poem that I think it's Mary's favourite. Mr. Cutler used to come to Goldsmiths College when we were students there, and he would read at the ATC, the Art Teachers course, and you could see that as a teacher he was inspiring to all these very young fledgling teachers who I think wanted to be like him, but whether they were or not I don't know. And so this is a very short poem from my signed copy of Private Habits. Thought I'd mention that. It's funny how you know, poetry has the power to sort of come round again. And because I've just been talking to Tom, and he was discussing this very subject with me. It's called knickers. I'll do it in my natural voice because I can't attempt to. I bought a pair of knickers, but they did not feel comfortable and were chilly, so I gave them to a woman. No wonder they are cheaper than pants.
But that's something that I quite love. It's sometimes inferred that because it's Ivor Cutler, that almost his character was the best creation, and that somehow his poetry without his voice somehow doesn't. That's an argument I've heard that's been, and I for one don't believe it at all. I mean, I love listening to other people read and other voices read Ivor Cutler's words, and I think they stand just as well. Yeah. I'd like, would you go to sing that?
Yeah, I'm going to sing this before I'm too
This is
drunk.
I'm sure those of you that know Ivor Cutler will recognise this song.
It's called I'm Going in a Field. I'm going in a field. I'm going in a field. I'm going in a field to lie down. I'll lie beside the grass. I'll lie beside the grass.
Would anyone like to read egg meat? Seems that's kind of the last sort of Cutler story that really always feels that it needs to be read out loud. It's such a classic, and it's also food based as well. Anyone fancy it? It's not okay. It's fine. I'll do it. Let's see. You'll realise the theme straight away. It's very similar to Gruts. Mammy, do you want any errands? Yes, son, go down to the ironmonger and buy me a pound of egg meat. Egg meat? What's egg meat? Never you mind, just go and buy it. Here's 5 shillings and I want the change. All right, Mammy, can I have something? Yes, keep a penny and buy that. Thanks, I'm away. Mammy, I'm back with the egg meat. Have you got the change? Yes, the egg meat was 10 pence. Here's 4 and a penny. Thank you. Now just you go out and play while I deal with the egg meat. What are you going to do with the egg meat, Mammy? Ha ha, you silly boy. I'm going to feed it to the eggs. Mammy, what do you mean feed it to the eggs? That doesn't make sense. Son, I've never told you this, but I've some eggs here. I keep them in a box. Yes, Mammy, I know. We sometimes have an egg. No, no, son, this is different eggs and I feed them meat. Mammy, why does the ironmonger sell egg meat? Well, somehow or other he could make it the best, and we just know the people that buy it around here where to buy it from, because he's the only one around here that has it. Ha ha! You couldn't go into the dairy and ask for a pound of egg meat. They'd look at you askance, wouldn't they? Can I see the eggs? Oh, well, I'm not very keen to show you the eggs. They should really be kept in the dark. You see, they've nocturnal habits. Ah ha ha, Mammy, you use these big words. I'm proud of you. You use the biggest words. You use the biggest words of any woman in our street. I heard you talking to Mrs. Machinery, and oh, Mammy, these big words you used, gosh, and Mrs. Machinery's face wasn't half red. That'll do, son. Now, the egg meat. Smells fresh. Mammy, is egg meat always that colour? No, not always. It's sometimes a bit more orangey, but this is the usual colour. It's got a funny smell, hasn't it? Yes, it's funny till you're used to it. Oh, Mammy, I love this, it's fun. Now show me how you feed it to the eggs. All right. Come into the bedroom and pull the blinds. But if I do that, I'll not be able to see. I know. You've got to feed it to them in the dark. Just a minute. I'll leave the door a wee bit open so that a little light comes in, so that you don't tumble things over. Now watch. There. Did you see the way they grabbed it? Ah, yes, it was wonderful. Mammy, can I buy egg meat for you every day? Yes, son, every day. You're a big boy now. You can buy egg meat for me every day. That's it. Thank you very much for coming and celebrating Ivor Cutler's birthday, and please try and remember it next year, wherever you might be. Make some gruts and spare a thought, and bean on toast, spare a thought for Ivor Cutler. Aye. But thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. A round of applause for Phyllis, please. Phyllis, do you have dust? Do you have dust? A copy of Dust? Your poem Dust?
So it's a special request from me.
Well, I don't have it with me.
I mean, is it in one of the books?
It's in my own book, not his. He wouldn't mix.
You did some drawings in some of his books, though?
I did, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, no dust.
Oh, I love that.
What, it's on an album. Which album is it on?
Is it online?
It is on one of them.
I'll put it on and I'll put it up.
I don't know where dust comes from. I only know it settles on things.
Sandy?
And I don't know if I can remember the rest.
we got the first couple of lines.
But if you looked it up on somebody's phone, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I didn't think of that. But maybe it's
The joys of Google.
maybe they don't really want to do it. You know, I've learned not to intervene.
What's he eating?
No, he's drinking from an acorn cup.
Drinking from an acorn cup.
No, no, it can fall apart in a room.